So welcome everybody to this fourth presentation of the IMS stream for today for the GuideShare UK virtual conference. And delighted to say we've got Ross Cruikshank here from IBM, and he's going to be talking about Personal IMS expanding ZHP hands-on capability. So this sounds quite interesting to me. I don't know, does it mean that we have an ability to have our own IMS session? I'm sure Ross will give us more details. But just to reiterate that all of these are recorded, so just bear that in mind. And also, if you've got any questions, then Ross says he's delighted to receive them via verbally. So if you just unmute yourself, or you can just post it in the chat and I'll pick that up and then ask that question as well. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to Ross. Over to you, Ross. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Dominic. And thanks, of course, to the new GuideShare UK for giving me the opportunity to talk. Look forward to this. I have a 45-minute slot. It may fit within there quite comfortably, depending on whether you've got difficult questions. Just to position it, the ZXP is the abbreviation for IBM Z Explorer. I'm the technical platform lead and system engineer, really, for the IBM Z Explorer hands-on learning environment, which is the follow-on from the great master of the mainframe environment that was run for 15, 16 years by Paul Newton in the Dallas Systems Center. You can reach me at ross@vnet.ibm.com. This is session AD, so look for the feedback at the end. If I don't get that far, remember to do the feedback. So I'll give you a quick intro to Z Explorer so you know what it's about, just in case. So Dominic, you're saying ZHP, suggests maybe you haven't heard of IBM Z Explorer. It's a skill platform based originally from Master the Mainframe, which was a student-only environment. We've made that in the last 3 years into a year-round platform for open to everyone. So instead of just students for a competition, it's now open to everybody to get hands-on IBM Z skills, so ZOS. We also do ZVM. For a short time, we had ZTPF, but that group's taken their stuff down. We also do machine learning with Linux on Z. So we have our Red Hat and Ubuntu environments available through the Linux One Community Cloud. And we partner with them to deliver some of the more Linux-oriented activities. So you get the idea is it's a hands-on environment. You get to work at your own pace. We have some progressive learning paths, and those are aimed at getting towards digital badging, which we publish through Credly. So if you want to get things on your CV to show that you've spent the time and effort in learning how Zoe works, how ISPF works, SMPE, TSO, all those things, then you can get the badge. We have an online community as part of the platform, a forum and leaderboard so that people can kind of gamify the platform as they want. But the intent is really that people work at their own pace and help each other once they get their confidence, and it helps to grow that way. We start off with fundamentals and concepts. So this is for people who have either no experience with the mainframe, and in that sense, mostly ZOS at all, or for those of us that have been around for a while but haven't really picked up on the new stuff. It's a way to get back into it. So we have a lot of people who classify themselves as reskillers joining the platform. We have some advanced skills that can take you into broader experience with things like SMPE, DB2, messing around with DFSMS, playing with Linux, working with Ansible, all those kinds of things. And because it's running all year round, we have people who want to feed their need a bit more, so we are adding content all the time. So in the last 6 months or so, we've been adding ZVM and Kick support. And as a result, I was saying to everybody, hey, we have our personal kicks, so you can run your own kicks region. There was a little bit of an interest in could we do this similar thing for IMS? So the plan is to take our logo on the left there is the Z Explorer platform and add a kind of one size fits all IMS experience that will be live in June. So we'll hopefully be able to talk about it for over the summer with the experiences and let people know how it's gone at the GSC or whatever it's going to be called, Guide Share UK meetup in later in the year. So a little bit of background for me and why I'm doing this and why it's going to be one of the best jobs I've ever had. I've been in the last 40 years developing myself as a sophisticated user of the mainframe. Certainly not a developer or a sysadmin type person, but I was very lucky to get into this role 3 years ago and given free rein to do pretty much what we need to be able to bring new content to the platform, scale it up. So taking pretty much everything I learned in the 80s, 90s, and the early noughties and applying it. And that includes things like cloud, modern languages, the more traditional compiled mainframe languages, tools and techniques to be able to deliver the platform. And I've had great support from Paul Newton as my mentor for Master the Mainframe, and from our small team, Jen Francis, who you may know as a Z developer advocate, who's now moved into the client benchmarking team for the new Z17s, and Monica Siegel, who is a fantastic resource on our team. She's the product manager for Z Explorer and does a lot of our engagement work with educators and outreach programs. So, where does this come from? We had clamoring from our customers, in relative clamoring, customers and prospective employees of those customers saying they wanted to get hands-on experience with IMS, having learned about ZOS and um, uh, ISPF and COBOL and PL1 and Node and all the rest of it. They said, well, the people I want to work for have IMS. How do I get some experience with that? Keeping in mind a lot of these people are not necessarily in the position to pay for a plural site or a Coursera for everything they want to do. So they want to get some hands-on experience, learn whether it's something they want to learn more about. In the areas of operations, admin, uh, the application development. There's some unique things about IMS that they may have heard of and want to try it out. And also, there may be some people who have experience with IMS and are not necessarily able to get hold of some of the new techniques that are available in recent releases of IMS, and see if they can have a play with it on our system just to see what it looks like. What it is not is administrator training, application development, or database developer training. So it's not, you won't get training certifications on this, and we don't go into the more detailed aspects of how to install, configure, define IMS, how to build applications and deploy them in any great detail. We'll do some of the kind of hello world level, but touch all the areas that would be needed so that people get an idea of where they might want to go in the IMS world. And if you want to know more about what education is available for those kind of training activities, then go to the IMS Central site at that address, and you'll see where all the courses are from IBM training. But of course, there are other providers like Interskill who provide some excellent IMS courses. So the end
So,
goal for us was to be able to have, oh, that's interesting, the animation went straight in instead of me controlling that. Anyway, the idea here is with personal IMS, is we're not going to give everybody an IMS. They're going to get access to a shared IMS. The address space and task structure is very different from the way that Kix works. So we can't just give them an address space and go. We have to give them a dependent region. So we're going to be allowing people to provision themselves a message processing region. They'll have the ability to query the whole of IMS, and the ability to manage their own NPR. We've done some conversion of the phone book sample application that's available to every IMS customer to convert that to COBOL. So there's a little bit more familiarity for the folk who are coming through. There's a COBOL course that we run in conjunction with the Open Mainframe project. Please go and see John Mertic on his talk later on today about that skills gap that they've been addressing through the COBOL course. We would like to be able to dynamically provision those NPRs and let people create their own MPPs, be able to create their own DL1 databases, connections to DB2, and so on. So we're trying to do this with IMS managed ACBs. We want to minimize the amount of change that we have to make to IMS itself once it's up and running, so that we can dynamically provision people in and out of the system. We know that there's likely to be a use profile which says I'll try it, maybe do a couple of things and say, well, that's enough. I've seen all the things that I can learn on the system. I'm done, and they'll go away, and we can reclaim resources. And then there'll be others who want to try and do all kinds of more complicated, detailed stuff. And we have a lot of latitude to be able to let people try. But at some point we have to say, really what you need to be able to do is go off and do some actual hands-on, some training and certification before you can do any more. So what I'll do, I'll give you a quick run through the journey that we're on, and give you an idea of the timescale of when this is going to be available. So from the planning perspective, we've been working as a cross organizational team. Some of these names will be familiar to you. Susie Wendler and Dennis Eichelberger have been long-term contributors to Share and Guide Share over the, I said years, but actually it's decades now, bringing their expertise from the Washington Systems Center. Ashley Lopez, who's one of our kind of new to Z systems programmers that's working with them to help build our environment and customize for what we need. Because what we're trying to do is unusual for the way IMS is delivered. They've done a lot of training workshops. There's a lot of assets and material that we can harvest, but it's going to involve a little bit of repurposing and reconstruction so that we can deliver it through our branding and our maintenance platforms. But the idea is that they will provide us with, in conjunction with my team, these self-paced modules, as opposed to a hands-on workshop delivered in Herndon or in Dallas or Poughkeepsie. These will have to be self-service, self-paced. But great to work with this team and bring their knowledge and expertise to people basically for free. So where we are on the development path, Susie's been spending the last couple of weeks taking some of the introductory videos that they've built over the years and reworking those into more up-to-date stuff to cover current IMS 15. We've broken those down into some shorter videos so that they can be consumed as part of an exercise rather than the learning itself. It's a kind of adjunct to what you're doing with your hands-on activities. So that'll be things like, why would people use IMS? Where did it come from? Those kind of historical perspectives on one of the world's most popular transaction processing platforms. I know it's a small set, but it is right up there with other popular transaction processing platforms. How IMS works, and that would be really quite interesting for those people that have looked at how Kix is architected, and to see how IMS makes much more use of the ZOS environment as opposed to Kix that tends to try and avoid it where possible. And then we'll look at the integration capabilities. So things like IMS Connect, ZOS Connect, OTMA, the links to DB2, the links to Kix, and so on. And then we'll be practicing as we're going through all that. We'll be linking back out to IMS Central so people get the idea of where they can get more information. Hands-on basics will be you can't break anything, you can't touch anything. So what we're going to be looking for is to um, give everybody access to the display command so they can see all the things that are on with IMS. They can see which regions are up. They can see transactions that are defined, how many times it's being used. They'll be able to do that from the MVS console because pretty much everybody that uses this will have to have MVS console access because they're going to need ISPF. They're going to need a 3270 emulator. So we'll be doing that through the Spock as well. And we'll also be showing how you can do the same kinds of things with the Zoe CLI. And if we can get it to fire up on our system, we will be giving people access, assuming we can get the security in place through the IMS management console as well. Still looking into how that's going to work best for us. And the idea will then be to let people see the information that they can see on the system and match that to the architecture discussions that Susie will have taken them through. So we'll give them a couple of different interfaces into the system. Then we'll do some more hands-on where we'll be getting them to modify their COBOL version of the phone book, which Dennis has ported over from the assembler. We'll give them the ability to create their own database so that they can run that database for their transactions running in their MPR. So they can add a little context thing on top of the regular phone book application. So they'll have control over the database and they'll do a little bit of database definition, set up the L1. And again, all that we'll give them the views through the management console. So provisioning that, the intent is that like we did with CICS and VM, CMS, we'll give people some basic orientation challenges so you get to learn a bit about the history and the context of it. There'll be an access challenge which says, I'm interested in what I've heard about IMS to be able to say, I'd like to get you to provision me some resources. And that triggers a background task where we'll go and set up data sets. We can do some provisioning of parameters that are needed to set up a user's specific region, which I'll talk to you in a little bit about in a second. So those scripts run in the background as they complete challenges on the platform. And then we direct them over to ZOS to be able to start messing around with IMS. They've got to get their setup instructions. They'll have a tailored job that's generated for them for their region. And then off they go. So they'll be able to then look at their region, start it up, shut it down. They won't be able to mess around with IMS, as I said, but they will be able to manage their own region. And if they don't, we'll also kill it periodically so that it's not left running and consuming resources. Security is going to be fun. We try and do everything through RACF. We don't really want to get too much into managing IMS exits if we can avoid it. So we'll do all of the definitions will be auto provisioned with their RACF profiles and resources, with the intent that they will all own their own dependent region. They can do by and large what they like, with the restrictions that it's theirs. They can't go into other people's regions, and we will be routing traffic into their regions as long as they define their transactions and their messages appropriately. The intent is that they should be able to persist these configurations that they make over region startup and shutdown. We do have some complications to our environment, which we're going to have to look at and experiment with to see how well IMS survives being abruptly shut off every couple of Sundays. But I'll talk to that in a minute. Space management. We had some issues with this, with how we might do it with CICS, and this is much less of an issue because, of course, IMS is doing pretty much everything for you. We don't have to do a lot of the logging and configuration and recovery management stuff on a user-specific basis. So we just need to set up some space, set up some storage groups, let SMS do its thing to allow the users to create appropriate libraries and data sets in their own profiles and then have them attached to their regions. So much less of a pain and overhead for us as from what we had before. We'll configure the ACS routines to do that for us. That's already on the process of being implemented. And we have all of our profiles for our users are Z profiles, but we also have these L0 profiles, which are set up to allow people who are business partners and part of the Linux porting community who are interested in learning more about ZOS. They can come onto the platform as well, so they can get some direct hands-on hands-on access to our environment for picking up their consulting skills quickly. Networking in this case, not such a big deal, unless we do something within, say, some kind of wait for input type region. I'm really not sure where we're going to use IMS at a user level. Sorry, IP at a user level. We are doing some ZOS connection so that we can create APIs into each user's region and they can try stuff out. But what we do have is a mechanism that was developed for Kix to be able to dynamically assign ports for the admin consoles on the Kix regions. That mechanism allows us to also then just grab a number from a pool and have it managed that way. So what we can do is assign the message class from a pool of about 1,999, as it turns out, the way IMS works, 998 available. We will route messages through their message class, and then their regions will be generated with the associated message class. So not much going on in the networking side at the moment. For job management and kind of admission control, we've got some processes that we've already set up for managing the fact we're going to have these long-running tasks, which we did for Kix. Since everybody's Kix region would be a long-running task, we set aside a set of initiators. There's a pool of about 20, which means we're looking at 20 people at a time being able to do these things. That's not been an issue with Kix. We'll see how that goes with IMS. So the model will be we'll create an initiator pool and the associated job class for that. So when their regions are generated, they'll then be targeted into that initiator pool, only one region name at a time. And there will be a timer set on it so that the actual execution time in the regions will be limited to, I think, about 12 hours at the moment, just to see how it goes. Yeah, so limit the time to 12 hours. Only one region name at a time, and we'll set up about 20 of these initiators to see how it goes. And then we'll monitor to see what our usage profile looks like and what our demands for common storage areas, things like that might be. It entirely depends on who's on the system and when and how many concurrently, what else is being done. So we'll have to see how the demand profiles go. Um, Job management, nice and straightforward. You grab a ticket when you get your region set up. That's your number, and that number gets associated to your message class. Now, we're not going to be able to define all these on the fly, so we've assigned all the message classes in advance. And the idea being that as a user gets provisioned into the system, they'll be able to get their message class assigned to them. That'll be associated with their MPR, and then any transactions they define will have to go through that message class to be routed to them. If anybody messes around and starts sabotaging anybody else's regions, then we'll withdraw the privilege of being able to play with IMS. So it's very much you you can play as much as you like as long as you don't mess up anybody else on the system. Um, then you've got reasonably free reign to do things within the limits of security and performance. Um, if anybody's got some other suggestions on how we might do this, we're willing to listen because we know this is not necessarily the way IMS environments work, where we're giving everybody a region to play with. Um, Welcome any input to this. We're still in the process of finalizing the provisioning model, but the security model we're building out at the moment. Some hygiene factors for what we do, just to keep the thing on the go. We will purge the region execution timer. So anything that's in those job classes that's been running for more than 12 hours at the moment, we will just end it. We do have, because we're part of the business partner and ISV data center managed out of Dallas, it's called the Remote Developer Program. The system gets recycled every couple of weeks, so they can apply maintenance to many images of ZOS, ZVM, um, all of the associated products, and Kix and DB2 and SMP and everything else is all run for across all the systems, and they do a lot of maintenance on the network and storage systems. So effectively, it goes offline for 2 to 3 hours every couple of weeks. We don't get an alert, so if the systems are running, they just stop because they're all second level systems under ZVM. So they will be just bounced. So we've got to make sure that IMS is going to come back up again. So we are not going to be doing any transaction recovery. IMS has to basically cold start when it comes back up. And we'll just live with the things that are lost. But there we go. That's the way of a free system.
And we've just got a question in from
Yeah.
Anders, who's just posted it in the chat. He says, "Why did you choose to execute them as a job instead of a started task?"
Good question. Because as a user, the user is able to submit the jobs without any extra security. We don't have to submit them for them, and they can then shut them down again when they're done. We can also just kill them as jobs, so they don't live under started task management. And we can also then customize each of the regions much more easily by the job definition itself. So it's been working well for the Kix regions. The user's region is just runs as a job, but because it's their region and their job, they have a whole load of security that goes for free because they've submitted it, and we will do the same for that IMS dependent region.
Yeah. And I've got just a brief question, but I think you've probably answered it before. But the BMP, but when you're running, say, I think you had on one of your slides to do with management of ACB management.
Yeah.
So we'll have to submit BMPs for management of that. So is that easily done? Presumably.
Yes, it will presumably be done. We haven't looked at that yet. What we're going to be doing is everything that we do for creation of the databases, the PSBs, the DVDs, all of those things will be done through IMS managed ACBs. And I'm conscious that I don't necessarily have all the experience or any real experience of doing that the old way. What we want to do is make sure that we're doing it as dynamically as possible. So the commands that are needed to do it for type 1, type 2 commands, the users will have access to be able to do that. We'll see what restrictions need to be in place to make it work well without damaging anybody else.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not going to be giving everybody everything. They'll have an MPR and they'll be able to do switched messages for their message class, so they can invoke their own MPP. We don't plan to do BMPs. We're not going to do fast path. We're not going to do wait for input type stuff. We may get as far as doing conversational applications for them. We provide the phone books so you can see your work, but beyond that, if we need anything more sophisticated, then we're going to be directing you to something like a Z trial or a different environment to try it. Or if there's enough demand and willing, when we can do it, then we can give a kind of hands-on version of that, depending on what the community wants. Thanks for those questions. Anders, does that answer your question?
Yes, it did. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
Uh,
good timing because I'm just getting towards the end here. So the idea here is just a little bit of a kind of reiteration. We're not doing this as a training replacement. This is free. It's always on except when it's not, which is every couple of weeks it will bounce, go offline for between 4 and 6 hours, depending on how long the maintenance activities take. But usually it's back within a 6 hour window. The machines are IPL'd just routinely, if you like. So we lose the machine, it comes back. The idea is that you can do this after work. You can do it at work if you have access to if your employer's network policies let you out and reach our system, because it's directly accessible on the net. So you can get a 3270 terminal straight into our system. You can get access via Zoe Explorer and VS Code. We don't run RSE, so you can't use ZOS Explorer. You can't run IDZ. Anything that depends on RSE, where we don't entertain. But if you have VS Code or anything that uses ZOSMF, you can connect to the system. We have a kind of a gate for when you get access to stuff. Our system was originally, it's set up really to give new to Z people experience primarily. And that means we go with VS Code and Zoe as the front end initially. Once that's out of the way, then you can get to ISPF and so on. We intend to go live in June. Their timings are on the availability of people like Dennis Eichelberger, who was lucky in Spain and Portugal last week before the power cuts came. Power failures rather. He and Susie both work with customers a lot, and we have to give our clients priority. So we're dependent on our customers not asking for them right at the time when we need to be able to deliver the final steps. But it's going well right now. So we aim to go live in June. We will gate this, the access to our All-Star badge holders, as we did with the Kix system. So those are people who understand how to submit jobs, monitor jobs, edit code, how to edit configuration files, sysint files, those kind of things. And to use the environment reasonably comfortably. That's our third tier badge, if you like. So most people will have had a broad experience of working on the ZOS environment and understand a bit about connectivity and so on. And then we will be monitoring it once it goes live. We use those All-Star badge holders as willing testers, if you like. That's our beta testers. As that rolls in through June, we'll see where we get contentions for resources that we weren't expecting, or performance problems, those kind of things, or whether the security needs to be revisited. But that's the current plan. We look forward to announcing that, and we'll get whatever we can through GSUK to disseminate it when we go live. But if you want to sign up, and you'll get notifications as soon as these things come alive, there's the link at the bottom here. If you've got suggestions as opposed to questions, contact me, Ross at VNet. Are there any questions before I hand you over to cookies and tea for the afternoon break?
Just to reiterate, there's no license, IBM license that you need for this at
This
all.
is all free,
Yeah.
free.
Yeah.
So everything that's on our system is what we package through the ADCD type environments. So if you've been looking at things like ZPDT, or you have an ADCD build, or you've been involved with things like the remote developer program, it's that standard build. Those products that are packaged in that build, we can make available to users appropriately, qualified users, which means if you sign up with a Z Explorer, you can get onto the system and use those products without cost.
Yeah.
We don't have any third-party products on our system because of licensing and royalties and what have you. But anything that we've got in our ADCD type builds, we can give out for free, give access to for free rather. And DB2 is set up as well, so you can access DB2 with a licensed DB2 Connect client as well. So yeah, there's no charge for this. The only thing you have to give is your time, and possibly some effort to get your network provider, whether if that might be an employer, or your mobile provider who might be blocking things like SSH connections, do arbitrary stuff with high ports. Because if you want to play on the system with, say, Node.js or Python, one of the things we do is we create little mini servers, and you get an IP port number that you can connect to. Some networks will block those because they're just ephemeral ports, so they might be treated as undesirable connections. Certainly, we have some issues with banks, insurance companies who routinely will block SSH connections and our ZOSMF ports. But if there's enough interest from employees, usually they can make an exception, make a hole through the firewall for our host with our port, and then all the activities are available from inside the corporate network as well.
Excellent.
Any more questions? All right. Thanks for sticking with me till the end, if you have, and if you're watching later, please feel free to get in touch with the same contact information. Remember to do your feedback, and this is session AD. Let us know whether you want to hear more about Z Explorer or the various other extensions we're building over the next 6 months. Thank you all again, and for the opportunity to talk. It's a great opportunity. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, much appreciated, Ross.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dominic. I'll drop off now.
Yeah. And everybody have a good rest of your time. We've got another session coming up, so there's one more IMS session today. But you know, feel free to have look at any of the conference material after we've finished this session.
I've posted a PDF of these slides up to the site, so it's
Yeah.
back to my profile.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.